What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Thank you for tuning in to part 3 of our mobile barbershop bus build. There's a lot for me to share with you guys. It's been a long time since I've worked on the bus, honestly. Like, when I say a long time, maybe about a year since I've been able to get a lot of work done. It's just been a lot of waiting on stuff, just a lot of not being motivated, honestly, but we're at a fun time in the bus now that we've gotten some of the bigger projects done. I don't have a lot of videos, but I'm gonna go into an in-depth conversation with you guys, just kind of about the stuff that I've done since the last video we have posted. I know I literally just posted about a week ago, but it was literally a video that was chilling in my drafts that I just never posted. So I'm gonna show you guys kind of where we're at, what we've been up to, and now I kind of have more of an idea of what I want to do. So I know in the last video I posted, we had just gotten out all of the bus seats, and I told you that we will be getting out the wheelchair lift. So wheelchair lift, honestly, just about the same as taking out the chairs. There was just 4 bolts on the sides, just went in with the grinder, just grinded those bolts off. The exact same process as the chairs. I don't have any like footage or anything from that. When I did do that, I did try to record, but it was so hot I'd set up my camera and it would overheat by the time we'd start. But super easy process. It was definitely way more intimidating than grinding out the chairs, but once that was done, it was way easier than I expected. So next thing after we did that, we had taken off all of that rubber flooring. So with the rubber flooring, all that I did was literally just grab like a utility knife, cut the flooring and just peel it all back. It was just some adhesive that was stuck to it, and then there was some plywood that was underneath that. A lot of that plywood was really, it was like still wet. It was very, very, very brittle. Kind of got really nervous then, honestly. Took all that out. By the time I took out all the rubber and all of the plywood that was there, the floor, it was bad. It was rusted through really, really bad, more than I expected. I will pop up some pictures and possibly some videos here as I'm talking with how the floor looked. I mean, there was parts on that flooring that you would step on that metal and you would literally, like, the metal would just break. So with that, kind of a little bit of an expensive expense that I didn't expect. Obviously was able to get a good deal since my buddy is a welder. Shout out to him. I will leave his information in the comments below. He does all custom fabrication, custom welding, anything you guys need over in the DFW area. But he was basically able to hook me up after some waiting of the price of steel to drop. He basically had taken out all of that old sheet metal and we laid down all new sheet metal, and as I'm talking I'll put up some videos on how that looked. But instead of, when they had built this bus originally, there was a bunch of little sheets of metal that were just kind of stacked like 3 across, 3 across, 3 across, 3 across, if that makes sense. Here we just have 4 big sheets long ways, and we added an additional support beam through the middle of the bus, so it's a lot more sturdy. I never even realized how kind of unsturdy the floor felt originally until I got this flooring on, and now it's basically bulletproof, you know what I'm saying? But it feels really good. So basically, guys, where we're at now is we got this this new sheet metal in, and I have started putting on some of this flooring and stuff like that. So I'm gonna show you guys the different products and the whole process that I used right now. Alright, guys, so I'm gonna show you all the products that I've used to treat this metal and now the whole flooring process. So first thing I did once I got my bus back was I prepped my metal with this concrete and a metal prep stuff. Everything I get is from the Home Depot. So you buy this, it has directions and stuff on the back on exactly how to use it. But long story short, you literally just pour it in a spray bottle, spray it all over the metal, and then you just wait for it to dry. It takes about 24 hours. I did 2 coats. That's completely up to you what you want to do. Obviously, rather be safe than sorry. All that stuff really does is just kind of put a protective layer for the rust. And then after I did that, I added some Rust-Oleum paint. Again, just another protectant from the rust. This thing has seen a lot of rust, and I've already had to obviously replace all the sheet metal. So obviously don't want to be doing that again. So just going and covering all the bases, and I definitely recommend for you to do the same. Even if you don't see rust, it's just better to be safe than sorry, right? So then you do that. I did just one coat of that, super quick. Like I said, I have a short bus, and you can totally get away with just one of those small cans that I just showed you. And then next thing, once all that's dry, I'm basically using 1/2-inch insulation boards just to give me some kind of insulation for the flooring. There's a lot of videos out there of people using 2-inch foam boards. Some people are doing 2 stacks of 2-inch, 1-inch. It's completely up to you on what you want to do. A lot of these bus builds, people have taken off the ceilings and raised them. Some people don't even do insulation boards. So whenever I was looking up kind of what I wanted to do, I decided, obviously with me being in Texas, we do see some crazy heat. I decided I wanted to do some kind of insulation, but I didn't want to obviously lift the roof of my bus because that's a whole nother project on itself. So all we used was this 1/2-inch insulation foam boards. Now I'll put a screenshot of exactly what I got up here from Home Depot. Now, like I said, these come in 4x8 sheets. Obviously this is just a sliver of what I used, and I will show you exactly here in a little bit how I placed them down, kind of how I did everything. So yeah, so I bought these insulation boards, and then also the way you kind of adhere that to the bus is you're going to use this Loctite construction adhesive. Now I recommend buying the whole case. For each sheet which you will use on my bus, I'm using 4 4x8 sheets of the insulation board, which means I'm doing 4 4x8 sheets of that plywood. So at least 8 of these. You cannot ever have too much. I recommend buying it by the case because you can get it cheaper, and I didn't know that, and I didn't do that, and I wish I did. And also make sure you get these 28-ounce tubes. They also sell, I think it's 16-ounce tubes. Don't get the 16-ounce ones, just get the 28-ounce ones, otherwise you're going to be constantly having to mess with it. So all you do is, like I said, I'm going to show it here too, so you just get your gun and just kind of use a whole bottle for each sheet. So you put that on the metal of the bus, obviously once your paint's dried. Then put down your foam boards, and then once you put down that foam board, you basically repeat the exact same process, but instead of putting another piece of foam, you're going to be putting this 1/2-inch plywood. Now, like I said, some people use 1/2-inch, some people use full-inch. This, again, I will post a screenshot of it. I think this is a little bit thicker than a 1/2-inch. What it is exactly off the top of my head, I don't remember. But again, these come in 4x8 sheets. These are just little, pieces I had laying around just so I could show you in the video right now. But then so right now for the flooring, it's basically all I've done. I'm about to go on, show you guys kind of how I lay everything out, how I weigh everything down, and then I will put a video of me installing some of the flooring. So let's get to it. Alright guys, so this is kind of what I've done so far. Like I said, I will show you a video of me installing our third section here in a minute. So these are 2 4x8 sheets of plywood, having to trim off probably about 4 or 5 inches along this side after measuring that out. Something else that I want to point out, heavily recommend before you do anything, is as you can see, these pink foam boards look longer than these plywood boards, and that is on purpose. On the end, they obviously are perfectly, aligned. But basically what I did was, on these foam boards, I cut off probably about 6 to 7 inches. So that way I can line up these boards, not exactly seam to seam when it comes to the plywood and these insulation boards.
That's just going to help with durability, so that way there's not any weak points because the seams go all the way through. So they're kind of staggered, which helps it become stronger. So it just makes everything a little easier. As you can see, I weigh everything down with these sandbags. Could I have knocked out all of this flooring doing the insulation and the plywood in one day? Yes. Would that require me buying about 40 to 50 sandbags? Yes. Am I going to do that? No. So all I'm doing is kind of just taking it, you know, I'm putting down a section of plywood and the foam boards, and I'm letting these sandbags sit on there for probably about 48 hours, give or take. And then I'm doing another section. That just makes it a lot easier, a lot smoother than having to buy a bunch of sandbags. This process is something you don't want to rush. First time I did one of the foam boards, I rushed it and it didn't come out good and the glue didn't adhere. You really want to, once you place it all down, walk across it, do whatever you do, just make sure all of the glue is as tight as possible, and then put on these sandbags and all the corners and throughout the middle and on the seams. So like I said, I'm about to put in another section of the foam board and the plywood. You guys will see that right now. As you guys can see here, somehow I miscut these plywood boards, and this one was about 1.5 inches too long, so I ended up having to cut it right there in the bus, which I do not recommend. If you are able to pull it out of the bus with some help and put it on something where you can cut it, so that way it makes it a little bit more easier, and so that way you don't have sawdust flying everywhere. But luckily we were able to make this work, but do not recommend it.
Well, alright guys, we have our third section of the subflooring done, as you guys saw. Also, as you guys saw, we ran into a little hiccup, but we got that fixed. Luckily, none of the sawdust really got underneath, or at least in between the plywood and the insulation board, so we are a-okay on that. Should still be a good adhesion. Obviously, if you have 2 people, do it with 2 people. I wish I had somebody else, or had somebody else come to help me with this piece, because it would have been a lot easier. I could have taken out the plywood, set it back out, and cut it, and make everything a little more even, a little more smooth. But, you know, that's what this is about, just rolling with the punches, right? Everything should obviously still be good, but guys, couple quick pieces of advice on how to do everything that you guys didn't see. One, obviously when you're done with all of this, before you put the sandbags and after you put the sandbags on, make sure you do a good walkthrough. You want to cover like every square inch of just walking all over the wood and the insulation. You want a really good adhesion. The first time I did this, I just did 1 pink insulation board just to kind of see how it went, and I only had 4 sandbags, put them on the corners, walked around a little bit, got it good. All right, we're good. Came back the next day, came back 3 days later, took the sandbags off, and there was, I don't know what I was doing, but I literally just barely touched the insulation board and the whole thing just popped off. And I was like, wow, well, that was basically a waste of all of that adhesion and all of that time. So it was because I didn't have enough weight on it and I didn't walk around on it. I went back, bought more sandbags, but you guys can use anything. Just make sure it's really heavy, whether they're sandbags. These are about $5 a piece. Sandbags, water jugs, dumbbells, weights, whatever you guys have. Just make sure you want them all over, obviously on all of the seams and a couple in the middle. And you just want those, make sure those boards are butted up together. Your goal is to try to make this as level as possible. That is the whole reason, obviously, other than all of insulation and all that, but you're really just wanting as level of a floor as you can. Obviously, it's a bus. You're just doing the best that you can, right? But that is the overall goal for what you're wanting to do with that. Now, when it comes to cutting the plywood, pretty self-explanatory. Circular saws, jigsaws, table saws, however you guys want to cut them. If you have wheel wells, you just work around them. Kind of picture them as walls of the bus, how you will just cut around them and put them up against it. Luckily for me, I don't have any wheel wells, but that's not a deal breaker from at least the process that you would do. You would do the exact same process. Even if you have wheel wells, you just cut around them. For these pink insulation boards, all you would use is just normal utility knife, and you can just slice right through them. Super easy to cut through. They're super durable and they're water resistant, so love that. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We just have this front section left to do. I will do that off camera, so that way you guys aren't just watching the same thing over and over again. Next project, if everything goes to plan in part 4, is we will rip out all of this plastic on the bus right here around the windows, and we will start framing everything so that we can start building walls and doing some of the roof ideas that I have. I have a couple ideas on how I want the roof, or not the roof, the ceiling, to look on the inside. So we'll kind of cross that bridge when we get there to see what looks the best. If you guys have any suggestions on types of flooring I should do, or even
any other YouTubers that you guys watch that you guys think I could benefit from, please leave them in the comments below. Please make sure you guys like, subscribe. Any other questions or comments, like I said. But I think that is pretty much it for part 3, guys. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, and can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Peace.